Scene script. Have you ever wondered how the same movies, music, and brands have come to dominate popular culture worldwide? Welcome to the fascinating world of globalization, a multifaceted process that increases interconnectedness and interdependence among nations and cultures. Its impact is far-reaching, shaping and being shaped by concepts like cultural imperialism and the role of media. Media plays a pivotal role in this global dance, acting as the vehicle driving globalization forward. Through platforms such as the internet, television, and social media, media technologies facilitate the cross-border exchange of information, ideas, and cultural expressions. It's like a giant web, bringing together diverse cultures and enabling the rapid spread of cultural content across the globe. But here's where it gets interesting. Globalization, particularly through media channels, can lead to two distinct phenomena: cultural homogenization and hybridization. Homogenization is akin to a cultural melting pot, where dominant cultures exert influence, leading to the spread of uniform norms, values, and consumption patterns. It's like watching the world gradually don the same cultural attire. On the flip side, hybridization is the blending and mixing of different cultural elements, birthing new, hybrid cultural forms. It's a colorful mosaic, rather than a melting pot, where each tile retains its uniqueness while contributing to a larger global picture. Interestingly, Western media, often originating from powerful economies like the United States, enjoys significant global reach. The dominance of Western media content can spread Western cultural values, lifestyles, and ideologies, potentially overshadowing or marginalizing local cultural expressions. It's like a cultural tidal wave, washing over less dominant cultures. But despite the sweeping influence of global media, there are instances of resistance. Local responses aimed at preserving and promoting indigenous cultures. Creating and consuming local media content that reflects unique cultural identities serves as a form of resistance against cultural imperialism. Yet this interaction between globalization, media, and cultural imperialism raises intriguing questions about cultural diversity and identity. While globalization facilitates cultural exchange and exposure to diverse perspectives, it also poses challenges to maintaining and preserving distinct cultural identities in the face of dominant global influences. In a world that is increasingly interconnected, cultural exchange is inevitable. But what happens when this exchange is not equal? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into this intriguing world of cultural imperialism, media, and globalization. What happens when cultural exchange is influenced by power dynamics? Imagine a world stage with various cultures as players. In an ideal scenario, all players have equal influence, contributing their unique perspectives and values to the global cultural exchange. However, reality often tells a different story, one where power dynamics come into play. This brings us to the concept of cultural imperialism, a phenomenon where the culture of a powerful nation impacts and influences the culture of less powerful ones. The influence of Western media on global culture is a prime example. With the United States leading the pack in terms of economic and technological prowess, the reach of Western media is vast. Hollywood blockbusters, pop music, even social media trends, the West's cultural exports are consumed by audiences worldwide. This widespread consumption of Western cultural content can lead to the spread of Western values, lifestyles, and ideologies. But what does this mean for other cultures? Here's where cultural imperialism gets more complicated. The dominant culture, in this case the West, doesn't just share its ideas and values. It shapes the cultural landscape of less powerful nations. This can lead to a phenomenon known as cultural hegemony, where the values and perspectives of the dominant culture are accepted and followed almost universally. This power dynamic raises critical questions. Are the less dominant cultures merely passive recipients of this cultural onslaught? Does the homogenization of cultures, essentially the spread of uniform cultural norms and values, become inevitable? While cultural imperialism often results in homogenization, it's not the whole picture. The cultural landscape is a fluid space, constantly changing and adapting. The influence of dominant cultures, while significant, doesn't always erase local cultural expressions. In fact, it often leads to a fascinating blend of old and new, traditional and foreign, resulting in hybrid forms of culture. Cultural imperialism often results in a homogenization of culture, but is that the only outcome? As we move forward, we'll explore this question further, delving into the resistance against cultural imperialism and the preservation of cultural diversity and identity. Stay tuned. In a world of cultural homogenization, Can diverse cultural expressions survive? This question is at the heart of the debate surrounding globalization and its impact on cultural diversity. But what if homogenization is not the only outcome? Enter the concept of cultural hybridization, an alternative and arguably more optimistic perspective on globalization's cultural impact. Cultural hybridization suggests that globalization doesn't result in a uniform homogenized culture. Instead, it leads to the blending and mixing of different cultural elements, resulting in new, hybrid cultural forms. This process can be seen in phenomena as varied as fusion cuisine, world music, and transnational film genres. Consider the rise of K-pop, a music genre that originated in South Korea but has gained global popularity. K-pop is a fascinating example of cultural hybridization. It blends elements of Western pop music with Korean cultural nuances, creating a unique sound that resonates with audiences worldwide. Or take the example of Spanglish, a linguistic blend of English and Spanish, often spoken in regions with significant Hispanic populations. It's not just a language, it's a cultural artifact representing the fusion of two different cultures coexisting in the same geographical space. Then there's the world of fashion, where East meets West, traditional meets contemporary, and local meets global. Designers across the globe are blending traditional cultural motifs with modern aesthetics, creating hybrid styles that speak to a global audience while retaining a distinct cultural identity. But as promising as cultural hybridization may sound, it's not without challenges. The process can lead to the dilution or misrepresentation of cultural elements, sparking debates about cultural appropriation. Moreover, hybridization doesn't negate the power imbalances inherent in globalization. More often than not, dominant cultures still wield significant influence over the direction and nature of these hybrid forms. Hybridization offers a means of cultural survival, but it is not without challenges. As we continue to navigate the complexities of globalization, it's crucial to foster an environment that encourages cultural exchange while respecting and preserving the integrity of diverse cultural expressions. Opening: how do local cultures respond to the dominance of global media? As we delve into the resistance against cultural imperialism, it becomes clear that local cultures are not passive receivers of global influences. They actively respond, resist, and even reappropriate elements of global media to preserve their unique identities. A fascinating aspect of this resistance is the creation and consumption of local media content. This is not just about producing local news or entertainment, but about creating media that reflects, celebrates, and promotes unique cultural identities. Such efforts are seen worldwide, from the thriving Nollywood film industry in Nigeria, which challenges Hollywood dominance, to the resurgence of indigenous language radio broadcasts in Latin America. These local responses to global media dominance are not just about preservation, but also about asserting cultural sovereignty. They serve as platforms for local voices, narratives, and perspectives that might otherwise be marginalized or silenced in the global media landscape. Moreover, local cultures often reappropriate and reinterpret global media content in ways that resonate with their local contexts. This is not a simple copying of global trends, but a creative process of cultural hybridization. From K-pop's fusion of Western pop music with Korean cultural elements, to Bollywood's unique blend of Indian traditions with global cinematic styles, these hybrid forms are powerful expressions of local cultural identities within the global media landscape. Yet, this resistance is not without challenges. Dominant global media platforms can amplify certain voices while silencing others, creating a skewed representation of cultural diversity. Furthermore, the commercial pressures of global media markets can threaten the viability of local media production. In the face of these challenges, the resilience and creativity of local cultures are remarkable. Through grassroots media initiatives, policy interventions, and conscious consumer choices, they continue to resist, adapt, and thrive amidst the currents of global media. Closing: despite the power of global media, local cultures find ways to assert their unique identities. In the face of dominant global influences, how do we maintain cultural diversity and identity? This question is at the heart of the discussion on cultural imperialism, media, and globalization. It's a delicate dance, one that requires a nuanced understanding of the dynamics at play. As we've seen, globalization, facilitated by media, can lead to both homogenization and hybridization. While the former risks the erosion of local cultures, the latter presents an opportunity for the creation of new, hybrid cultural forms. These processes pose significant challenges to maintaining cultural diversity and identity. The dominance of certain cultures, particularly Western ones, can overshadow or even marginalize local cultural expressions. However, it's not all doom and gloom. There are strategies that can be employed to balance global cultural exchange and preserve local identities. One such strategy is the creation and consumption of local media content. By reflecting unique cultural identities, local media can serve as a powerful tool for resisting cultural imperialism. It can provide a platform for indigenous cultures to share their stories, traditions, and perspectives, thereby countering the dominance of global media. Education is another key strategy. By fostering an understanding and appreciation of different cultures, education can help counteract the homogenizing effects of globalization. It can encourage the celebration of cultural diversity, rather than the adoption of a single dominant culture. Lastly, policy interventions can play a vital role. Governments can implement policies that protect and promote local cultures. This can range from supporting local media outlets to enacting laws that preserve cultural heritage and traditions. The dance between cultural imperialism, media, and globalization is a complex one, requiring a delicate balance to ensure cultural diversity thrives in our increasingly interconnected world. By employing strategies like local media creation, education, and policy interventions, we can navigate this complex dance, cherishing the richness of our world's cultures while embracing the opportunities presented by globalization.